This happy family was on the way to take their son to school when they suddenly had an accident. The military couple could not survive, but the son was lucky to survive, adopted by the aunt who is a police officer as her own child because of losing parents. So Bayman's personality is always sad and easily angered. He has changed schools 3 times because he doesn't like the bratty bullies, but he was smart, so he went home to study the law course on his own and successfully passed the exam to get a law degree. But because he didn't have a high school diploma, the law degree was just a vocational degree. No employer would accept it. They even sarcastically said he was uneducated. This words had just ended made Bayman mad. He picked up the chair he was sitting on and threw it at the recruiter, then angrily left. Bayman, depressed, sat down to eat noodles on the side of the road. Then suddenly he met the director of the law firm he interviewed in the afternoon. His name was Moon Go. He didn't care about degree, but he saw the natural talent of the male lead. Moon Go wanted to cooperate with Bayman, help him working as a military prosecutor in a military environment. Mentioning the words military made Bayman extremely disgusted, so he immediately refused. But when he heard Moon Go talk about 5 times more money than a lawyer and a 10% commission, equal to the whole year he tried to work, Bayman could not resist. But when he entered the army and came into contact with many people, Bayman gradually realized that his parents' accident was not accidental but was caused by someone harming. So who is the enemy? Please continue to follow along. After agreeing to cooperate with Moon Go, the male protagonist successfully became a high-ranking sergeant in the army. Today he came to meet a new recruit and deliberately showed special interest in him. After went out, he told the platoon leader of that team that guy was the son of the president of a big bank. After hearing that the platoon leader treated the guy extremely well, his clothes were also washed by someone else. When everyone went out to practice, the bank president's son was allowed to stay in the room to rest. That naive boy thought that because he had severe sinusitis, should be paid more attention by everyone, but he didn't expect that he would fall into the trap of the male lead and Moon Go. Very quickly, the fact that the bank director's son was given special treatment in the army was exposed by the press. The male lead is a military prosecutor, so he is in charge of this case. The boy hoped Bayman would help him clarify his medical condition, but he asked the wrong person. Bayman asked questions to prove that the boy was entitled to preferential, especially without giving him a reason. When the boy asked, this was Bayman's intention. Then he looked at him with killer eyes, not knowing that outside the interrogation room, a pair of eyes were watching everything. It seemed Wu In had seen through Bayman's intentions. This plan was successful, making the director of the bank had to resign due to press pressure. The male lead did this job for Moon Go to complete his undercover mission in the army. Now he will be discharged in a few months. At that time, Bayman did not want to work for Moon Go anymore, but wanted to work for someone above him. That was the young CEO Tae Nam. He was a man with money and power. At his party, there was a couple dare to yell at his pet dog. They was physically attacked by Tae Nam's bodyguard. Not only that, he also forced the man to kneel down and apologize to his dog, then continued to pour angry punches on the man. After beating this man, he assigned Moon Go to handle the legal issues of this case. The case of the bank director's son was also ordered by him, for that bank is against his company. Tae Nam really wanted to meet the male lead, who had successfully completed the last case. He wanted to see if Bayman was really as loyal as his dog. Then he chased Moon Go out. He continued to have fun with his friends. The blonde man was Tae Nam's best friend named Helen. He brought his extremely pretty girlfriend, causing Tae Nam to reveal his evil intentions. The girl immediately felt the danger and wanted to leave, but the two people held her back and forced her to drink a glass of water to be polite. That glass of water had sleeping pills in it. Not long after the girl finished drinking it, she lost consciousness, and Tae Nam's smile became more and more inhumane. Not long after, at the police station, a girl staggered into the report after harming people. These bastards are still having fun with each other as if nothing had happened. Suddenly, a red-haired girl wearing dark glasses appeared outside the door. Seeing that there was a girl, they thought someone was calling to continue having fun, so the blonde man opened the door to let the girl in. The red-haired girl sat in front of the men without fear. The girl who took off her glasses unexpectedly was Wu In. She had long investigated their actions, so she came here today to deal with the scum. She fought those men alone, but was not inferior. The girl acted extremely strongly and decisively, and soon defeated them all. The blonde man wanted to run but was stopped by Wu In, and was taught a lesson by the girl. After dealing with everything, she called her teammates to bring these guys back to the warehouse. She did this for no purpose at all, but just felt like she needed to help the world operate again. Get out of the dominance of money. On the male protagonist's side, he is busy finding out information about Tae Nam's name to approach this guy, only to be surprised to learn that this guy was the son of the first 2-star female general in Korea. Everyone was in awe of the series of integrity victories. Back to Wu In, she locked the bastards in the trunk of the car and went to the hospital to visit the victim girl named Mina. Wu In gave Mina a video of them humiliating her, saying that she must keep this evidence carefully, then we can send his to prison. The blonde boy is a famous singer, so his disappearance was quickly reported on the media. His close friend, Tae Nam, also quickly learned this news. His lawyer is Moon Go. He is worried about finding a way to save Tae Nam from this involvement, because he knows that the blonde boy's disappearance is definitely related to the female students who were humiliated by them. Tae Nam is not worried at all. Cases like this can be solved with a little money. Tae Nam asked Moon Go to order Bayman to find the blonde boy, making Moon Go feel that his position was about to be replaced, so he indirectly gave the image of the blonde boy to Bayman, but didn't let him go to see Tae Nam. Bayman accepted the mission and immediately went to work. He went to that bar to investigate. Most of the cameras were deleted, but the perpetrator missed a camera on the rooftop. Bayman understood, so giving some money to bribe, so he watched the video. Inside was a girl with red hair and dark glasses. Then Bayman continued to the other room to collect blood on the floor. On the other side was the banker's son was arrested and put in military prison, so he had hatred for the male lead. He hired a boss to kill him with a large sum of money, and this boss also had a grudge against Bayman, so he agreed. At this time, Bayman went with Moon Go to meet Tae Nam. Moon Go clearly did not want to, but could not disobey his master's orders, just waiting for this opportunity. Bayman nominated himself to work directly with Tae Nam without going through Moon Go anymore, making Moon Go very uncomfortable. The thing he feared the most had finally come. When turned back, Moon Go blamed Bayman for doing so, which was tantamount to betraying him. But most people want to be promoted to higher positions, is no longer valued by Tae Nam. Moon Go turns to bite him back by threatening to tell everything to his mother. Hearing the word, Tae Nam's whole body was cold. The thing he was most afraid of in the world was his mother. Whatever he was afraid of it quickly came. While Tae Nam was struggling with Mina to force her to reveal where the video was, then his mother's subordinates arrived, asking him to come see her urgently. At the same time, Bayman and Wu In were going on a mission assigned by their superiors, was suddenly stopped by a car in the middle of the bridge. It was the car of the gangsters hired to kill Bayman. As a man, Bayman told Wu In to stay in the car so he could handle it, but as soon as he got out of the car, he was surrounded by thugs. Bayman tried to fight back, but the thugs were too numerous and aggressive, while Wu In sat leisurely in the car observing everything. When Bayman was about to be defeated, she got out of the car to support. She calmly turned the car's windshield wiper to fight the thugs. Seeing a woman dare to challenge, a thug disdainfully criticized her. As soon as he finished speaking, she knocked him out. But the other guys who came in were also defeated by her. This aura of hers made Bayman surprised. With just a few moves those people were defeated. The two continued on their way. At this time Bayman sat in the back seat and accidentally saw Wu In's red hair. She also deliberately wore dark glasses so that he would remember the suspicious red-haired woman. He secretly took some of the hair from there to take for DNA identification and returned to Tae Nam. He was so afraid of his mother because of the terrible memories he had when he was in high school. His mother did not punish him with a whip, but only with her eyes and words, because in order for him to obey, she was willing to give her son a grenade with the safety pin removed. While Tae Nam trembled in panic and fear, Yeon-soo warned him that the most important thing in her life was her power and position as the highest-ranking female soldier in the army, so no one could stand in her way, including her son. If Tae Nam does bad things that are exposed and affect her career, she will not hesitate to kill him. The grenade will explode after an hour, or will explode immediately if Tae Nam drops it to the ground. Yeon-soo locks his son in the warehouse so he can repent, but unexpectedly, that fear creates a perverted devil-like ick now. Every time he remembers that memory, Tae Nam is so scared that his brain wants to explode. As soon as he saw his mother, he knelt down and begged for forgiveness. Yeon-soo mercilessly kicked her son because he dared to skip military service and cause trouble outside. She stomped on Tae Nam's face. It wasn't that she wanted him to be a good person, but that she wanted him to do nothing to affect the reputation she had built. Tae Nam got out of that heavy foot, vowed not to serve at the barracks, managed by his mother, then ran away immediately. Tae Nam found Moon-go to vent his anger, and he leisurely said he was just following his obligation to report everything to Yeon-soo. Moon-go is not lacking anything. As a powerful lawyer and director of a law firm, Tae Nam couldn't do anything to him. On the other hand, the male lead gave Wu In's hair sample to forensics for examination, then followed her to see where she went during the working time. He carefully changed into another outfit so as not to be exposed. Seeing Wu In wearing a seductive black dress, Bayman's suddenly vibration, but he quickly regained his composure and hid under a woman's feet to avoid being discovered by Wu In. He then fought for this woman bag and quickly paid to leave. The expensive bag was also accidentally bought, so brought it home as a gift for the aunt. Raised her nephew for many years, and he bought luxury things for her to use, making her feel moved to tears. After that, the male lead went to see the military doctor, who will be in charge of Tainam's military service examination, so that the doctor can give a certificate that Tainam is not healthy enough to enlist in the army. In return, Bayman will nominate a doctor with Tainam, let the doctor get out of the army so he can get a good job at a big hospital. Yunsu also knows that Bayman is the one who helped his son escape military service, so she called her secretary to arrange an appointment with him. But at this time, Bayman continued to follow Wu In. At this time his friend called to say that he had investigated the suspicious car the day the blonde boy went missing. That car was registered under the name of a national defense company, the same company Wu In just come, and Bayman also followed all the way here. Wu In went to the rooftop to meet a man who was also her effective assistant, Director Kang of the National Defense Company. He helped her, because when he was in America, Wu In saved him from a group of bullies, and the Director Kang was also an international student who received a scholarship from her father's company when the company has not been robbed by others. From then on, the two became good friends. He was also the one who handled the blonde boy with her. But the male lead had heard everything. He turned and walked away. Wu In also looked at him and said that Bayman would be an integral part of her perfect plan. Back home, Bayman linked them all together, and it was certain that Wu In had linked up with Director Kang to kidnap Helen, while Tainam did not participate in the game further, so he escaped. The results of Wu In's DNA examination also matched the DNA at the scene. In order not to affect his discharge plan, he decided to take Wu In to jail. On the other hand, Moon Go broke into Mina's house, used her mother to threaten her. Whether she keep the video or not, she must not publish it, otherwise her mother will disappear forever. On the other hand, the male lead's friend has found the car where the blonde man was kept, and Wu In also gave Bayman's aunt the video of the villains harming Mina, so she could lead someone to arrest Tainam. Bayman immediately ran to announce to Tainam that he had found the blonde boy, making him smile because he thought the video was shot on the blonde boy's phone. If he found this guy, he would delete the video. Tainam also promised to give Bayman a good position in his big company if the exemption from military service is completed successfully. As soon as Bayman left, the blonde called to report the news. The video has been stolen by the red-haired woman, and at this time the police car is already downstairs. As soon as Bayman went out happily, he panicked when he saw his aunt leading the army to come here. He realized that the direction the police were going was Tainam's place. Indeed, not long after he was taken out, Soo-kyung also saw that there were 2 glasses of wine, so there was definitely another person. Went out to meet the male protagonist who was standing and observing. Not wanting her to know that he was working for the bad guys, Bayman ran away. Soo-kyung also chased after him. Bayman had to cover his face while driving, and Soo-kyung kept holding the speaker and shouting in his ear, asking him to stop the car. Bayman successfully cut off Soo-kyung, but on the way back, his car suddenly lost control, and a terrible accident occurred. Unexpectedly, the person who appeared in front of his eyes was Wu In the red-haired girl's suit. She officially announced her identity to entice Bayman to cooperate. Wu In took him to the hospital. Fortunately, he only had minor injuries, so as soon as woke up he left, returning to the army. Bayman saw Wu In and pressed her against the wall to question. Wu In said he wanted Bayman to wake up, because she knew he was a capable person. If it is used for the wrong purpose, it will be very dangerous. I'm waiting for the day, prosecutor. Bayman escapes oblivion. This sentence from Wu In made Bayman freeze, because he didn't know why he had to chase after money. On the other hand, Tainam has been released from prison. He also forced Bayman to bring a dog to pick him up. That is called the evil of money. In or out of prison, only money has a say. The scene changes to Bay's man-friend showed him Director Kang's past identity. If knew more about this person, he would investigate Wu In's identity. The male lead opened the video. He was surprised and did not understand. Why did Director Kang's company receive investment from Im's company to develop to what it is today, but now colludes with Wu In to harm Im's president Tainam? But when he hears President Cha was Im's first president, the male lead realized that perhaps that company used to belong to Wu In's family, but was robbed by Tainam's family. To make sure, Bayman called Wu In come to ask her directly. He listed a series of her father's crimes, revealing military secrets, embezzlement, stock manipulation, and the person handling her father's case is lawyer Moon Go. And Yunsu is the one who forced her father to die, so now she wants to take revenge on them. And Wu In just silently watches and thinks he doesn't know anything. Just based on information online, Bayman returned the watch she gave him that had a wiretap attached. Wu In did not deny it and also told Bayman that the current president of Im Company is actually Yunsu. Bayman said that after being discharged from the army he will work for that side. So, if Wu In opposes them, it means her is confronting him. She did not challenge, but just reiterated that she hoped Bayman would find the answer for his life. Then placed a photo on the table. Bayman went to the address. In that photo, the memory of the accident from the past suddenly came rushing back. In the end, he forgot something that Wu In forced him to remember. When he got home, he looked at the box of things his parents left behind and saw a photo of the two of them together with a man. Is Chairman Cha. Wu In father. This makes the male lead remember that when the accident happened, Chairman Cha called his parents many times, as if he wanted to urgently announce something. Bayman immediately found his parents' old teammate, and he was also the one in charge of their accident. When he knew Bayman didn't remember much about that accident, this man stood up to leave and advised him not to remember anything. The more he knew, the easier it would be to be eliminated. Unexpectedly, he then came to Wu In and told her about the male lead who came to ask him today. Wu In said to let him remember everything himself. On the other hand, in order not to affect herself, Yun-Su forced her son to enlist, then handed over the company to Moon Go to manage. Unable to disobey his mother, Tae-nam was forced to pack his bags. After all, he just was a pawn in Yun-Su's power game. The day he joined the army, people protested violently and fiercely opposed Tae-nam joining the army to escape the crime of rape. He only cried because his hair was cut too short. The day he joined the army was also the day Bayman was discharged from the army. He went to greet the division commander, is Yun-Su. She strangled him, scolding, he is just the kind of money-hungry person who is not worthy of being a prosecutor. But Bayman couldn't hold back anymore, because he had already been discharged from the army. He dared to protest without fear of being disciplined anymore. But when he looked at her hand, he suddenly remembered the hand when his family had an accident, during the military trial of Tae-nam, held by Wu In. With the participation of both Yun-Su and Moon Go, Bayman unexpectedly also appeared wearing a lawyer's shirt and taking Wu In's side, because he had recalling old memories. His parents' accident was caused by Yun-Su. She was the one who checked to see if his parents were still alive, and even gave an evil smile because the male lead's parents work for Chairman Cha, and Chairman Cha is the owner of the Im Group. After killing people and blaming him, Yun-Su is of course seated as the new chairman of Im Group, and Moon Go was her supporter, so she also supported him. Wu-in's father was harmed, and she was no exception. Luckily she kept her life, but was tormented by the pain of losing her father. Because of her will to survive and take revenge, she must continue to live, restore her body and enter the army to approach Yun-Su. Bayman's family was harmed by this woman, and up until now, Bayman has always worked for this woman faction. Taking the opportunity to have thugs come to fight, he vented all his anger at them. Every punch was a stupid scolding he gave to himself, but every tear of Bayman, Wu-in witnessed it all. She knew she was about to have an ally, and Tae-nam was used to enjoying a rich and happy life. Now he had to wake up early every day. Eating scrumptious food is used to it, but now he can't swallow military rice, so knock over the rice tray. The officer ordered him to pick it up and he refused, so the whole team was punished with push-ups. It is a form of cruel punishment in the military. Then there are high-intensity physical exercises that scare Tae-nam, all monitored by Yun-Su via camera. She wanted to train a copy of herself, but the press still did not ignore the video incident. Violated Tae-nam's college girl and the blonde boy, so he was taken to court, which was Bayman's chance to take revenge. The girl Mina was also present and sat in the witness chair. She recounted the entire process of being lured into the tiger's den and being abused. Wu-in also gave convincing evidence about Tae-nam's fingerprints and the broken wine bottle at the scene, along with the video he recorded. But when Moon Go came out to question, he asked Mina why she was with the blonde boy, when he knew she was a fan of the blonde boy. Moon Go immediately changed the crime of sexual assault to consensual sexual intercourse between men and women. Furthermore, if pour aphrodisiacs into wine, it will create compounds that cause vision impairment and memory loss. On the bottle of wine there is also the fingerprint of the blonde hair, so it's unlikely that Tae-nam did like Mina remembered. He gradually cornered Mina, causing her to collapse, constantly questioned her about remembering the wrong person, making Tae-nam laugh. The first trial ended with victory for Tae-nam, exactly as Bayman had predicted. But unexpectedly after the trial, Bayman came to an alliance with Moon Go. He told Moon Go the way to win the second lawsuit, which was to use Tae-nam's illness of not being able to be intimate with women as a defense. Bayman's purpose in doing so was to continue allying with the wolves to find an opportunity to kill the whole herd. During the second trial with the presence of the blonde boy, before that lawyer Moon Go used intimidation to force him, admitted all the guilt. So during the trial, he did not dare to go against Moon Go word. The blonde boy admitted that he broke the wine bottle to threaten Tae-nam into filming him. Moon Go also presented Tae-nam's medical examination records to prove that he could not react to women. causing him to hold his head in humiliation. The laughter in the audience was like a knife stabbing into Taenam's heart, made him go crazy and grabbed Moon-go's neck, and also wanted to rush up and punch the judge. This expression further proved that it was true, so he was found innocent, returned to Bayman. Because he was an ally, he was led by Wu-in to her secret base, located in a cafe, looked at the evidence that Wu-in had collected, and her plan. Bayman was even more surprised when he learned that Yun-su was in the Patriotic Association, a gathering place for greedy mouths, in which Yun-su ranked third. Second was Lieutenant General Hong. He was the former prosecutor in charge of Bayman's parents' case, and the leader was Minister Lee. But Lieutenant General Hong is currently the Yun-su's superior and did not like her very much. The person admitted to the Patriotic Association also have Lieutenant Colonel Won, the bombing hero, also Yun-su's person. In the near future, she plans to bring Moon-go into this group to increase the number of her people in the group. As for Taenam, he was found innocent, but from now on there will be a disgrace in the army. Wherever he goes, he will be laughed at by his comrades, and was threatened with an eel by the platoon leader. He couldn't stand this humiliation anymore. So in that night, Baynam decided to defect. He would rather go to jail than be despised by others. Previously, Moon-go had loudly and firmly affirmed to the press that Taenam would complete his military service as atonement, but now he deserted. Making Moon-go was very angry. Taenam saw a group of workers who were warming up, also running back to heat up, but lived without knowing anything. Someone kindly gave him money, but he even criticized it a little. But when the worker lent him his phone and hat, a moment later, this man's account was transferred 100,000, at which point Bayman returned to the army and went to meet the banker's son. This guy saw that Bayman was crazy with him, but Bayman easily controlled him and told him the good news. The one who really harmed him is Taenam is about to be brought here. At that time he can vent his anger. On the other hand, Wu-in and Chairman Kang also knew that Taenam had escaped, but they could not expect that Bayman would work for Moon-go. This guy gave him a suitcase of money to help him solve this case. Actually, Bayman tried to act like he loved money to easily gain Moon-go's trust. When he thought he could only use money to gain Bayman's intelligence, Bayman easily counterattacked. After Bayman went out, Wu-in caught him. Because she believed him, he told the truth that he had caused Taenam deserted. He understood well that this guy was a person with high self-esteem, so he revealed that this guy had that disease to Moon-go. Let him be laughed at by his comrades. If he desert the army, he will be considered a reactionary crime. At this time, Taenam used his worker's phone to call his best friend to come pick him up. Then he straightened his appearance and come to the bar. His friend introduced Taenam. A company took revenge. Actually, this boss's company had a grudge against Bayman, and Wu-in went to Taenam's friend. After beating him unconscious and tying his hands to the steering wheel of the car, Bayman called to inform Moon-go that he had found Taenam's friend, then hung up to let Wu-in question this guy about Taenam's whereabouts. Wu-in made a very strong and decisive move. If this guy didn't say a word, she would cut off a finger, making Bayman scared too. Surely, he wouldn't have dared to betray her in his entire life. That guy had to confess that Taenam was about to flee to a foreign country, and the person helping him was the boss's company. At this time, Taenam called Moon-go, asked to tell his mother that he would leave the country and flee abroad, but he did not say which country. After a while, the male lead also called Moon-go to inform him of this news to gain trust. He ordered Bayman to hold Taenam back, and this was also what Bayman wanted. Bayman arrived at the same time the gangsters backed Taenam onto the boat. He also secretly ran onto the boat. But when he reached the Taenam, that person was not Taenam. The boss was happy because Bayman fell into his trap. Now he was free to take revenge. Bayman saw that the enemy was too numerous, so he flowed into the river and fled. Actually, before that, Taenam had intended to go abroad, but he went by air. Seeing his dog again made him happier than meeting his mother. At the same time, the ceremony to accept the position of Minister of National Defense of Minister Lee, Taenam thought he were leaving the country smoothly, but at the last moment they met red-haired Wu-in. No matter where he ran, she followed him. Finally controlled by the airport police with an electric gun, the incident of Taenam's desertion was covered up. But now that he appeared and was publicly arrested at the airport, South news exploded online, and high-ranking officials also receiving information very quickly. The ceremony was interrupted, causing Yun-su to worry and have to leave quickly. The press also followed behind to take photos. And at the same time, the male lead also returned the money to Moon-go, officially challenged him. Taenam was taken to jail, and the bank's son looked at him with hatred in his eyes. The next day, Taenam was taken into the interrogation room. Taenam saw Bayman and thought he was the savior, hugged him tightly, and he still kept smiling happily at Taenam. On the other hand, because interrupted the minister's inauguration ceremony, Yun-soo had to personally apologize, and the minister bitterly slapped her, then began to lecture, not considering Yun-soo as a human being. His rank was higher, so Yun-soo did not dare to protest. He forced her to cut her off with her son, but she used her career to ensure that she would teach her son one last time, while Tae-nam was ordering Bae-man to lie in a way that was reasonable and had to take him out immediately. Woo-in turned off the camera, then Bae-man was bored to make him wake up. Then Bae-man flicked his forehead to make him wake up. After being beaten many times, Tae-nam felt scared and changed the way of addressing. At this time Woo-in also turned on the camera, starting to take testimony about the reason Tae-nam deserted the army. After the interrogation, Yun-soo personally went to meet Bae-man and Woo-in, ordered them that, if they accepted to handle their son's case, they must handle it thoroughly, punishing them with the heaviest possible discipline. On the other hand, Moon-go also investigated Woo-in's identity, is the daughter of the late Chairman Cha. He also immediately recognized the red-haired girl as Woo-in. At this time, Woo-in's team began targeting the Patriotic Association, first dealing with war hero Lieutenant Colonel Won. The legend about him is that he was not afraid of bombs and was willing to rush into the battlefield to save his comrades. As a result, he lost a leg when a mine exploded, and from then on, gained everyone's respect. But in fact he was slandered. Woo-in's father has revealed military secrets, and now he relies on his famous reputation and fake gentle smile to attract many admirers. Also held a book signing session. Bae-man and Woo-in also participated. Woo-in's eyes clearly showed unwillingness. Suddenly a soldier with resentful eyes held a gun and aimed at him. Surprisingly, that soldier was the younger brother of the soldier who was rescued from the minefield by Lieutenant Colonel Won. Through the camera, Bae-man realized that the bullets in the gun were empty bullets, because he was at the scene and witnessed and clearly heard the sound of empty bullets being fired. Woo-in didn't care about that, she just wanted to know what the soldier's motive was. So Bae-man and Woo-in went to interrogate him, but Kim-sa refused to reveal it, clearly showing his distrust to the military prosecutor, because all of them are henchmen of high-ranking officers. Kim-san's behavior, like this, must have been a problem with the mine rescue that year. Indeed, when Yun-soo called Lieutenant Colonel of Won to meet, she told the secret that he shot his comrades in the minefield. Minister Lee also knew this. He also knew that Lieutenant Colonel Won was cowardly at that time, and even used his comrades as shields to block bullets. Yun-soo wanted her people became even more loyal to her, so she said that if he wanted to keep his secret hidden and be a hero forever, he had to absolutely listen to her, and Mr. Won also knelt down to accept, and Woo-in gave the male lead a video. Last time she mixed in with the journalist to visit Mr. Won and secretly placed it in the hospital room. Bae-man opened it and found out he did not have a leg amputated, but both legs were intact, so he immediately decided to reopen the investigation into the minefield case. Very quickly, the trial of the old minefield incident took place. Woo-in gave me evidence to prove that the weather was bad that day, so no mine detection was carried out. And if go out in fog like that, it's easy to shoot teammates by mistake. Each question comes after another, causing Mr. Won to lose his reason. From helplessness to anger, he slammed the table using the excuse that Woo-in was insulting a historical hero, and left the trial. But outside, Bae-man and the press were waiting there. He cut off Mr. Won's pants and hit this man's fake leg. But surprisingly there was no real leg inside. In the surprise of Woo-in and Bae-man, and Yun-soo boldly walked in, looking at her pride. Bae-man knew he had lost this game right from the start. This caused two people to be accused of insulting war heroes. Bae-man was suspended for 3 months, and Woo-in was banned for 10 days, and the trial of the soldier who shot Lieutenant Colonel Won was taken over by another person. He was a man without integrity, so he punished the soldier very seriously. This captain also accepted Tae-nam's trial, but the attitude was completely different, defending him to reduce the crime to the lightest possible, on the way to send the soldier to serve his sentence. His teammates cooperated to deliberately forget the documents to return to the army. The purpose was to allow the soldier to meet Woo-in. The female lead told the soldier that she had also experienced a feeling of deep hatred for a powerful person. She once held a pistol and stood behind Yun-soo. She could have killed that demon in one shot, but she chose the path of revenge, exposing all this woman's crimes, sending her to prison, making her lose everything. That was the heaviest punishment. Those words made Kim-san burst into tears. He opened his heart to tell her that, when his brother was in the hospital, a note was sent, saying that Lieutenant Colonel Won was not the one who saved people, but was the one who shot Kim-san's brother. After saying that he took off his shoes and gave the evidence to Woo-in, she immediately took a photo and sent it to Bae-man. The next day, the male lead immediately went to the hospital to find the doctor who had treated Kim-san's brother. Coincidentally, that day, Moon-go also went to the hospital to find that doctor to cover his mouth, and that military doctor also left the hospital immediately. Moon-go chased after, but when he reached the parking lot, he still let his prey run away. So he immediately called the boss to ask him to find the doctor's whereabouts. The male lead, after asking the nurse in the military doctor's office, did not rush to find him, but instead went to press the fire alarm to make the hospital completely chaotic all up. Then leisurely went into the doctor's room to take the hard drive, then brought the hard drive to Chairman Kang to recover the data, and Chairman Kang was keeping Tae-nam's dog at this time, because the last time chased him, he ran away and left the dog alone at the airport. So now it has changed owners to Chairman Kang, and now Chairman Kang left it for the male lead to raise, and ran away. He had no way to bring it back to Soo-kyung's house. He called the female lead to inform her that Tae-nam would not be able to live comfortably in the army because he have put his people there. Not long after at the barracks, the spy became close comrades with Tae-nam. On the other hand, the male protagonist also found a military doctor in an internet shop who would have thought the gangsters brought people to take hostages again. Bayman tried to take down each of them, but there were too many of them, so they took the doctor away. The male lead immediately returned to the hospital to see who was the person who ordered the thugs to find the doctor, only to find out that it was Moon Go. When Woo In learned that he had lost the doctor, she was not very worried, that because she had finding out who sent the note in Kim San's brother's hospital room, Bayman immediately followed the address to find him. After a while of calming down and persuading, this person also said, at that time the fog was so thick that it was difficult to identify. In front of the platoon while moving, the team leader, Mr. Won, gave they a 5-minute break. Then he moved somewhere, and in the distance a deer appeared, running headed towards the minefield. So Kim San's brother carefully followed the deer. This friend also followed. The team leader was dealing with his sadness when the deer ran past. He thought the enemy was there, so he opened fire. The deer ran through the minefield, causing the mine to explode and hit Mr. Won's leg. He was panicking, so when Kim San's brother ran to the rescue, Mr. Won shot him, but the soldier saw everything and returned to the present. He said that if the army turns this case over, he will definitely come forward and tell the truth. At the same time, the doctor was also beaten up by thugs and had to tell him about changing the test results of Kim San's brother from being shot by bullets to being exploded by mines. It was all at Lieutenant Colonel Won's request, and his leg was always normal. But in order not to be exposed, Yeon-soo forced him to have his leg amputated. She did it herself. A woman is truly cruel. To climb to that position, she must be extremely intelligent and observant. This is proven by the fact that she knows Woo-in's identity as the daughter of the late Chairman Cha, and started following her from there to easily control. That's why she knew there was a hidden camera in Lieutenant Colonel Won's room. This made Moon Go tremble. The Vengeance Group continued with the second plan, which was, tomorrow is Kim San's brother's surgery day. Woo-in said she had prepared a highly qualified and uncorrupted doctor to perform his surgery. They also planned to hold a press conference to announce that Kim San's brother was shot, not blown up by a mine. The next morning, the male lead went to visit Mr. Won. Just saw that the male protagonist, he went crazy. Because of the male protagonist, he had one leg sawed off. Bayman calmly picked up a walking stick for him, then began to persuade him to just tell me Yeon-soo's name as the person behind this. He will try my best to help Mr. Won get the lightest sentence, which is better than living under Yeon-soo's shadow. Mr. Won was about to say it when the nurse came in, causing him to lose his temper and scream to chase Bayman away. Before leaving, he swore that the next time he came, he would bring a warrant to arrest Mr. Won. This made Mr. Won scared, endured the pain, and got into the car to escape from the hospital. He also called to inform Yeon-soo that Bayman would hold a press conference to talk about the minefield. At this time, also came to ask his superiors to give her an arrest warrant for Lieutenant Colonel Won. The superiors heard the subordinates wanted to arrest a high-ranking general, was powerless with her. But when heard Woo-in say that the minefield was about to be exposed, there were also witnesses. If the superiors cover up and not give an arrest warrant, he will have to take responsibility. He also worries and promises to think about it. The press conference has already started, everyone is in their ready positions. Then at the last minute, an incident occurred. When Bayman called a witness, this person was stopped on the street by Yeon-soo's person. In the car, Mr. Won looked at the discharged soldier with triumphant eyes, with the same motion signaling him to shut his mouth. An hour had passed, but the witness still hadn't arrived, so the reporters were all frustrated and left. Fortunately, Soo-kyung pretended to call the witness with directions, so the press thought this guy was just lost. Not that didn't come. At this time, Woo-in disguised herself as a strong red-haired woman and went to the gangster's lair. She held the gun to keep a distance from them, then gave the key to the soldier and told him to quickly go to the press conference. She would handle the rest. Then Woo-in alone rushed into the fight with the thugs. Each of them was easily defeated by her. At this time, the soldier ran to the press conference, With a wounded face, he introduced himself, is a soldier in Mr. Won's team, and told the truth. One colonel had shot his comrades. At this time, Director Kang also brought a box from the hospital where Kim San's brother had just had surgery for the male lead. Bayman stood in front of the reporter and slowly opened that box. Inside was a bullet that had just been removed from Kim San's brother's brain. This was the secret Mr. Won wanted to hide. The soldier was late because this man was obstructing him. Bayman took advantage of the power of the media, demanding to reopen the trial of the old minefield incident to reclaim justice and reduce the punishment for him and Wu In. After being defeated, Mr. Won brought a bruised face to find Yeon-soo. Shouted that he would not listen to her from now on. His trust in her was gone. He said that if he was arrested, he would drag her along as an accomplice. This is the spark that provokes Yeon, so she ordered her subordinates to immediately kill Mr. Won. The next day, the prosecutor came to his house to arrest him in court. Only then did he discover that Mr. Won was dead because the case had been exposed. Bayman was returned to the army. He and Wu In reviewed the items confiscated from Mr. Won's house and discovered a car key very strange. They will rely on this key to find clues, because Yeon-soo was the last person to meet Mr. Won before he died, so he was taken into the interrogation room, interrogated by Bayman and Woo In. Her lawyer is Moon-go. He and Yeon-soo prepared the answers to be asked, falsified necessary evidence and deleted cameras in suspected locations, and blamed sawing off Mr. Won's leg to a military doctor, and Mr. Won's death was caused by him using a silencer gun to commit suicide due to fear of going to prison. The interrogation ended, but the male and female protagonists still could not find the loophole, could only use words to overwhelm Yeon-soo's indifference. Both knew clearly that the silencer was the one she shot Mr. Won. Before leaving, Moon-go also gave Woo In-im's company business card, saying in a provocative tone that it now belonged to him, and he will change its name. Looking at his face and those words, Woo In knows that they have recognized her identity. So what if they know? The revenge will still proceed as planned. Woo In and Bayman arrives at an old warehouse, and based on the number on Mr. Won's car key to open the door, they discovered that he had hidden a lot of important evidence related to many people, so the two secretly brought it back to the base to slowly investigate. On the other hand, did not care about Bayman at all. But after a series of incidents, Yeon-soo could no longer be arrogant and was forced to send her subordinates to investigate Bayman's identity. In the pile of documents that Bayman and Woo In took from Mr. Won's secret warehouse, there was an evidence notebook recording details of Yeon-soo's illegal actions. They handed the notebook to Lieutenant Colonel, Bayman's parents' best friend in the old days watch. He recounted that in the past, Lieutenant General Hong had interrogated Bayman's father. When he did not confess, this man brutally beat him. Hearing the cruel things his father had to endure, Bayman vowed to repay everything. He went directly to meet this man, under the pretext of thanking him for reducing his punishment in the previous case, and then knowingly presented the suitcase of money, making him smile happily, reach the goal of success. When Bayman asked how long the soldier had worked for Mr. Hong's family, then he answered, 6 months. Lady Hong also showed herself to be a kind and virtuous person who loved these soldier children. But the timid expression of the soldiers is contrary to those hypocrites' thing. This caught Bayman's eyes. He went home and told Woo In this detail. They will start with the soldier, convince him to tell the truth, to overthrow the oppression that had exploited him for the past 6 months. Not long after, the soldier went to the supermarket to buy cooking ingredients, but could not find the last ingredient. He was extremely worried. At that time, Bayman appeared behind, actively suggested that the soldier hitchhike to another supermarket to buy. After leading him to the coffee shop, Bayman dumped all the food and awakened. The soldier is a soldier combat for the fatherland, rather than being a housework slave. Bayman promised to help him get justice, but the soldier asked Bayman if he remembered who he was, then said he was never bullied in Mr. Hong's house. Bayman didn't understand why this guy was angry with him until he heard Woo In say he used to work for Moon-go in court before, so the image of a money-hungry Bayman working for a powerful person was deeply ingrained in the soldier's eyes. So this soldier didn't trust him, and even recorded a hatred for Bayman, which made Bayman feel guilty extremely bad. It turned out that he was so evil and despicable, unintentionally pushing the soldiers' lives into a dead end, while the main class that protected the safety of the country was deported like slaves. The high class, those who only know how to give orders, are enjoying themselves and organizing lavish parties. Mr. Hong, a true devil, is hailed by everyone as an armed hero, as can be seen clearly from Yeon-soo's face, unable to like this person. Under Yeon-soo's arrangement, Moon-go also gradually came into contact with the Patriotic Association. Having been involved in the political world for many years, he understood the nature of these high-ranking people better than anyone else. He had people stuff money into each politician's lieutenant colonel's car trunk to build relationships. That was the operating rule of this corrupt world of power. After the party, Yun-soo stayed in the office for a long time with Mr. Hong. He recalled the accident she caused 25 years ago, at which time, she also saved the son of those two prosecutors as an alibi. Suddenly Bayman's image appeared, making Yun-soo smile evilly. She recognized the baby that year as him, so she immediately ran to the army to find him. The two of them stood facing each other. Yun-soo said clear from every word in Bayman's name, he was that child. That year, it was Mr. Hong who ordered Yun-soo to stop the male lead's parents so that they wouldn't go to court to sue him, but they didn't expect that Yun-soo would kill everyone, so now they're in the same boat. Yun-soo wants to trick the male lead into bringing him to her team by saying the accident of his parents was just accidental, but Bayman grabbed her wrist tightly, clearly confirming her move to check to see if his parents were still alive, then strangled her, and she opened fire, but nothing happened because it was all Bayman's imagination. Pretended to be grateful that she saved his life, and also said he had lost memory, so now he remembered that she was a benefactor. On the other hand, Uncle Seo turned back the old case and told Bayman and Wu at that time in the rookie training camp, the commander caused an accident, caused 3 new recruits to lose their lives. Bayman's parents knew this was not the soldier's fault, but the grenade exploded before being thrown. Bayman's father reported this to Prosecutor Hong in charge of the case, but he did not investigate, even distorting the truth. Bayman's father did not give up. He continued to investigate and found out that the grenades were not up to standard and wanted to reveal to the press that bad side of the army to hide the fact that he cut money to buy bad grenades. Minister Lee ordered Yun-soo to kill the male lead's parents to silence, so now they have to deal with Lieutenant Colonel Hong first. Firstly, handle legal officers so they couldn't cover up for him. Wu-in's colleagues took on this case with a proud atmosphere. 2 people quietly went to the golf course of the officials who took bribes and enjoyed taking pictures of the scents. They bully their subordinates and then release these pictures outside, causing them to be cursed by the people and demanding to be removed from their positions. So Mr. Hong lost his legal support team, and after that, Bayman once again went to the soldier and sincerely apologized to him for his corrupt past and promised that he would make the bullies suffer the end they deserved. Then he also gave his business card to the soldier because couldn't stand the feeling of living without a moment of rest and respect. That night, the soldier packed his things and wanted to run away, but was stopped by Mrs. Hong. She still had that disdainful tone and attitude, but this time the soldier resisted. Immediately after the news of Mr. Hong's abuse of subordinates, abused power and coerced others was public to the media. Mr. Hong is a member of the Patriotic Association, now making the association lose face like this, making Minister Lee angry. He had to appear before the media and promised to have this case investigated clearly in court. Unexpectedly assigned this case to Bayman to investigate. He began to take statements from the soldiers under Mr. Hall, but absolutely no one dared to confess that he had bullied them. They were afraid of his power and the Patriotic Association, and the soldier was bullied. Bayman let this guy sleep in his place to be safe. The scene changed to Director Kang successfully recovering the hard drive that Bayman and Wu-in found at Mr. Won's place. When heard it, he discovered that it was a conversation between Yun-soo and Mr. Hong, proving that they were the perpetrators in the case of Bayman's parents. But right when he was about to call Bayman, the investigator came in, using the excuse that President Kang's company stole technological data and confiscated all his machines. Take that evidence. When the investigator left, Moon-go appeared in front of Chairman Kang. He was the person behind this case. He caused the stock price of Chairman Kang's company to drop, then bought back the shares and take over his company. The scene of the trial of Mr. Hong's abuse of his subordinates begins. At the same time, Soo-kyung is also in charge of interrogating Mrs. Hong, and Mr. Hong's lawyer is Moon-go. When Bayman reveals that Mr. Hong forced his subordinates to wear watch to dictate, Moon-go argued that Mr. Hong's family loved him, so they gave him the expensive watch. The judge was also bribed, so he kept agreeing with Moon-go. On the other hand, Mrs. Hong also repeatedly denied that she had beaten the soldier, and said that she considered him a family member. Back in court, said that the soldier worked at Team 4, but constantly had to stay at Mr. Hong's house as a servant, was tortured until his eardrums ruptured, causing an uproar among the soldiers present at the trial. Moon-go was surprised and did not expect this move. The soldier also directly stood up and told the whole truth, how he and another friend were abused and beaten like animals, living a miserable life. Soo-kyung's side also showed a video of Mrs. Hong cursing and hitting soldiers in the middle of the supermarket, leaving her speechless. Another discharged soldier also came to testify, causing her lawyer to give up, returning to the trial. Moon-go took the story of his comrade's death that left the soldier psychologically traumatized, not that he was abused by Mr. Hong. The soldier cried and said he endured it because his son had a heart condition and needed money for treatment. But the judge on Mr. Hong's side should have dismissed all of Bayman's accusations. The first trial ended in the soldier's anger. On the other hand, Tainam in the army was being beaten to tragic because the bank's son was once harmed by him. So now he has the opportunity to take revenge. Return to Wu In. Something unexpected happened in the second trial. Wu In asked to use a witness. When the witness entered unexpectedly, it was Yeon-su, but she did not participate in the witness chair, but was her assistant. Before that, Yeon-su called Wu In to the office to ally with her to overthrow Mr. Hong, so she can have more power in the Patriotic Association. And this time the judge was also threatened by Yeon-su, so did not dare to favor Mr. Hong anymore. The assistant revealed all of Mr. Hong's violent nature. She was also sexually harassed by him. And now the judge could no longer listen to Mr. Hong. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison for abuse of power and ill treatment. He could not accept being in prison, so he grabbed the judge by the neck, but was controlled by Bayman. Finished dealing with Mr. Hong, and now it's Yeon-su's turn, the third revenge target of Wu In and Bayman. Wu In guessed that she had stabbed Moon-go, so he also would not leave it alone. Indeed, it wasn't long before Moon-go came up with that idea. The other day, when talking to President Khan, he said that in the pile of documents, there was something that could against Yeon-su. Unexpectedly, Chairman Kang would rather protect the company than reveal this evidence to Wu In. At this time, the male lead also received hot news from Mr. Hong, who was betrayed by the Patriotic Association, so he sided with him. This man said that in addition to Bayman's parents, Wu In's father also collected 14 evil documents from the Patriotic Association called X documents, which could overthrow the entire Patriotic Association, which is why Wu In's father lost his life, lost the entire company, but Wu In didn't know about that document, meaning it was stolen by someone else before she took her father's things, whose hands is document X now in. They went to Mr. Won's warehouse to look for it, but could not find it. She immediately called Chairman Kang, but couldn't reach him. At this time he was with Moon-go. Hearing the content on the hard drive, Moon-go was extremely pleased. The message Wu In sent to Chairman Kang did not even bother to reply. At this time, Wu In received news that the documents had been confiscated by investigators. She immediately went to find Chairman Kang. Only now did he reveal his true face. Said that he only cares about the company he built. Now Wu In has Bayman by her side, so there is no need for him anymore. He also returned the watch Wu In gave him, ending the relationship. Here she was betrayed by the friend she trusted the most. Wu In couldn't hold back her tears. When Bayman heard the news, he came and punched the President Kang. He said, "If you hurt Wu In again, I would kill you." Another side in the army, Private First Class. Wu In, due to being oppressed and bullied excessively by the captain, so he stood up and took a gun to Captain Ma's room. But he wasn't there. His other teammates often insulted him and didn't consider him as people. So now seeing Private First Class Huin holding a gun, also smiled sarcastically, daring him to shoot. Private First Class Hui did not actually shoot because he felt that looking at these people was disgusting, so he left, but left behind a grenade with the pin pulled out, causing the whole room to explode. Then a purge of all the soldiers who had insulted him. Only Tae-nam remained alive, but Private First Class Huin spared him because he was also bullied like him. Private First Class Hyun gave Tae-nam a gun, encouraging him to shoot the bullies. Tae-nam immediately called his mother for help. When she heard the gunshots, she realized how dangerous the problem was, so she sent someone to rescue. When she arrived, Tae-nam was locked in a safe car. Actually, Yeon-su also cared about her sons, Bayman and Wu In also arrived at the scene of the shooting. Private First Class Huin found the captain because his gun was out of bullets. He used gunmen to beat this man to the point of fainting. That was the strongest revenge for this man. When Bayman and Wu In went inside, the soldiers' bodies had all been transported away, leaving only blood stains on the floor. And the reason Private First Class Hyun was so hysterical was not because of being bullied, but because the captain dared to threaten to torture his mother like he tortured him. When Wu In and Bayman took over the interrogation of Private First Class Hyun, they understood his suffering, so they brought him out to meet his mother. The mother and child cried and hugged each other, while the other soldiers who were lucky enough to survive were taken to the hospital. They were threatened by the platoon leader not to speak out about his mistreatment of Private First Class Huin. He was afraid that the prosecution would find out that he was the bully, not the victim. As he is now, Tae-nam was also there. A while later, Moon-go came to find him because President Kang had previously told him about the X file that Yeon-su did not know. But Tae-nam took over Im's company early, so he definitely knows. So now it's time for Moon-go to get close to get information from Tae-nam. When Wu In and Bayman come and make Tae-nam remember Private First Class Huin shot his teammate, so he went crazy with fear, waiting for Tae-nam to calm down. Win started questioning, was Taenam abused when he was in the platoon? He hesitated for a moment, and then said no. On Bayman's side, when interviewing the other team members, they said the same thing. It was not because they were covering for the captain, they were threatened by him. But they spoke very hesitantly, making Bayman extremely suspicious. Surely there is something hidden in this matter. Back before Yeonsu found his trembling son, took his hand and promised to let him out of the army and return him to the position of Director Im, but with one condition. Taenam must declare that there was no violent behavior in the army, only then will Yeonsu not be questioned by Minister Lee. But after confessing, Captain Ma continued to want to abuse Taenam. This time you couldn't hold back any longer and fought back against. Even though Yeonsu tried his best, Mr. Lee still wanted her to resign because her son caused trouble. Yeonsu explained that her son was also a victim, but he wanted to fire her for a long time, so he didn't listen to the explanation. Yeonsu had no choice but to turn her back and confront him. Everything he orders she gave her were all recorded. Now that it was published, they died together. On the other hand, In started the second interrogation with Private, encouraging him, if he didn't tell the truth, his mother would be sad and disappointed, disgrace for having a son who killed his comrades all her life. And finally, Private First Class, Hai had to say what a hellish life he had in the army, was mistreated and treated like animals, both physically and mentally. Took the testimony of the trial of the first soldier, who also took place. He said he was mistreated in the army, but the other soldiers denied it. Taenam was also forced under his mother's eyes to keep his mouth shut and not say anything, but the longer he sat in court, the more he remembered his previous mistreatment. So he couldn't bear to shout and grab the captain's collar, saying that he had abused Private First Class Huing. He also had the courage to say that if Bin Nat Hui was punished for murder, then these people must also be punished for mistreating people. This is the first time in his life Taenam has done the right thing. Yeonsu is angry when her son disobeys. Taenam is dragged out of court. Private First Class Huing was sentenced to death penalty, and the remaining people will be thoroughly investigated by the judge. Not long after this investigation was assigned to Wu In, and Bayman continued to take over. They first went to find Yeonsu for hiding bad behavior in the military, but could not find related evidence. Her subordinates also denied this hidden crime. Then Bayman and Wu In continued to interrogate Taenam. He honestly confessed that the captain had forced the entire team to lie, and his mother also forced him to lie. Bayman told Taenam his mother denied forcing her son to lie. She also took advantage of Taenam's loss of temper. As an excuse, Taenam did not think that his mother was using him to get away with the crime. Before ending the interrogation, Bayman showed him a picture of Taenam's favorite dog. It is now alive and well, making Taenam regret and want to start his life again. On the other hand, Moon-go brought a large suitcase of money to thank the inspector for helping him confiscate Chairman Kang's company. As soon as Moon-go left, Bayman also arrived. In his hand had evidence that the inspector confiscated Chairman Kang's company is illegal because it operates normally and there is no violation. Furthermore, he clearly understands that she is corrupt, so now if she doesn't cooperate with him, her career will be ruined. The inspector wondered where Bayman got the documents from. When the company's confiscation documents were only known to insiders, Bayman immediately took her to meet the person who provided the evidence. Surprisingly, that person was Chairman Kang. Before he was just acting and not playing with Wu In, a 15-year-old. Friendship not easy to be end. The next day Moon-go was at the Im company shareholders meeting when the special guest raised his hand to speak, asking why there was news that company had signed a contract with the Ministry of National Defense to produce weapons is a fraud. Actually, all the guests' questions were asked by Bayman outside the command. At this time, Chairman Kang also silently spread the information on the projection screen, proving that the signing was a fake contract. The shareholders wanted investing more in the company. When they learned the truth, there was a stir, so they simultaneously sold all the Bullied shares they were holding to escape shareholder status. Before Moon-go could react, the inspector arrived at the scene and issued an arrest warrant. Moon-go, he didn't understand why the inspector had been bribed and was still doing this to him. Then Bayman walked in to tell Moon-go that he was not alone now, that people working in the Ministry of National Defense, including the Minister Lee and the deputy platoon, along with those related to military weapons, were also arrested. But after a period, Moon-go was also released. But now the Im company is just an empty shell. Moon-go went crazy and ordered the boss to bring Bayman and Wu In here, or kill them. On the other hand, Yeonsu also ordered her assistant to kill Wu In for her. On the other hand, because he was judged to be emotionally disturbed. Taenam was discharged from the army. As soon as he got out, he was taken to see his mother. Yeonsu agreed to take her son to the position of president of Im company so that he would have to spend the rest of his life with her. This made Taenam feel sad. Think about Bayman's words. His mother only sees him as a tool in the power game of her life. Back to Bayman, an unexpected incident happened to him. While calling Wu In, he was suddenly hit by a car of thugs. Wu In only had time to record the license plate before they carried Bayman away. Bayman was arrested along with Chairman Kang. The two of them were beaten until their faces were bruised. When they were about to kill two people, red car came rushing by, but there was no one in the car. When Moon-go looked back, Bayman and Chairman Kang had been untied. All three of them combined their swords to punch the thugs in the face. Wu In also punched Moon-go in the face 2 times on behalf of his father, but his juniors had already controlled Chairman Kang, so Wu In could only let them run ahead. Anyway, this warning was enough. All three of them returned to the cafe to apply medicine for each other. Outside the lobby, Taenam also appeared to visit his beloved dog. He missed day and night. He liked dogs because it were his friends. It didn't take advantage of him. To repay them for taking care of his dog, Taenam gave it to Wu In a notebook. When he left, Bayman and Wu In discovered that there was a USB inside. On the other hand, when Taenam left the cafe and asked his mother to go to the place where she threw the bullet into his hand to meet. At the same time, the assistant also asked Wu In to go out to meet privately. When Bayman read the letter Taenam left, he realized this person was planning to end life. He immediately remembered the license plate number and chased after. At the same time, also informed Wu In about this matter. And the USB flash drive was an ex-notebook, which was the information for overthrowing the Patriotic Association. Yeon-soo appeared in front of her son. In the past, she used to educate her son with a grenade. Now he used that same grenade to end his miserable life. Wu In's assistant also pointed the gun straight at her chest and pulled the trigger. Because he had previously chased Taenam, Bayman stopped Taenam from committing suicide promptly, and Wu In was shot in the arm. Both were taken to the hospital at the same time. Bayman and Yeon-soo sat dull outside the waiting room, not daring to think how about the future and the results of the surgery. Luckily, Wu In woke up, and Taenam became a persistent vegetative state, looking at her son forever and never opened his eyes. Yeon-soo was so hurt that she choked up, but in her life she chose power, so now she can't turn around. Very quickly the trial of Mr. Lee and Moon-go also took place. Now there was no one to help them anymore. Then came the trial of Yeon-soo. But she was not afraid because she thought she was acting careful, and silenced everyone, so now no one can betray her. When Wu In took the fact that Taemon had a mother like her, and was forced to commit suicide, she also kept her blood calm expression cold. The first trial ended, but right after that the assistant came to Wu In. She was a good soldier with no way of shooting by mistake. There was only one reason she shot Wu In the arm, to save Wu In life. Because she feels guilty, and doesn't want to do anything that will harm everyone anymore. Wu In wants her to agree to stand as a witness against Yeon-soo in the next trial, ending this cycle of crime. The second trial took place. Bayman released a recording of Yeon-soo, ordering the forensic doctor to amputate Mr. Won's leg, falsifying heroic evidence for him. Yeon-soo's lawyer argued that it was a fake recording. Unexpectedly, Bayman also prepared a witness, a forensic doctor sent to the scene to stitch up Mr. Won's wound, after his leg amputated by Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo said that the military doctor addicted to gambling. It's not worthy of a soldier to refute that testimony. A self-indulgent person will certainly perjure. So what about a person of integrity? That is the assistant. She agreed to go to trial against her employer to atone for her sins. She could never have imagined that a person she had tamed would be willing to die for her, then turn around and denounce all her crimes. And the final card to completely overthrow Yeon-soo was Moon-go. Moon-go only followed Yeon-soo's instructions, so this time Bayman will save him from being blamed the most. Moon-go also wants to rebuild his life, so he agrees to fight against Yeon-soo. Standing in court, Moon-go accused Yeon-soo of blaming the late president, Cha, for corruption, and took over his IM company. At that time, Moon-go was her defense lawyer in this case, so his testimony was completely convincing. Was lured into the path of crime by Yeon-soo, so Moon-go grabbed her by the neck, but now it was all too late. Everything was over. Yeon-soo, arrogant, didn't need anyone to take her away, but walked into prison to plead guilty. The end was also the beginning. Taenam had already repented, so God gave he a chance to open his eyes and rebuild his life. And Bayman and Wu In avenged their parents, purging garbage for society. Wu In no longer works as a military prosecutor, because that's not what she wants. Wu In finally gets her father's company back, and Bayman continues to be a military prosecutor with integrity. After a year of meeting again, with no further plans for revenge, Bayman gave Wu In a kiss he had missed for many years, officially opening a new path for them. The movie is over. Thank you for your attention. Bye, and see you again.